Yeah.
Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, kicking off our schedule previews for our top 25 teams. And today, getting started with our number 25 team in the Tennessee Volunteers. Before we start talking about Tennessee football, guys, first, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, and share our videos. Guys, hitting that like button, leaving a comment, hitting that subscribe button, or getting our notifications helps us out tremendously and helps us build our channel more than you know. So things that just take a few seconds can continue to build this Gridiron Expert channel so we can bring you college football content 24/7, 365. And if you like these schedule previews, I promise you're going to like our game-by-game predictions that are coming in just a few months, where we predict every single game for every college football team. So do not miss out on that. Do not miss out on these schedule previews, the rest of the content. Like, comment, subscribe, and become a part of our Gridiron Expert team today. So we ranked Tennessee, guys, at number 25 in our way too early top 25. The Volunteers are coming off a 7-6 season last year that ended with a very controversial 48-45 overtime loss to Purdue in the Music City Bowl. And I think a lot of people can agree that Tennessee was kind of robbed of that victory against the Boilermakers. But all that aside, it was still a very successful first year under Josh Heupel. Getting to a bowl game, winning 7 games, was something that I don't think a lot of people expected in his first year down in Knoxville. When you look at the outlook, Hendon Hooker returns at quarterback. That's the huge part for Tennessee. We know Josh Heupel's an offensive mind, and therefore we need to have a solid offense. Tennessee had a great one last year, one that averaged 39.3 points per game. Hooker returns at quarterback, plenty of offensive talent around him. The only areas that Tennessee has to work on are the offensive line. The Volunteers gave up 44 sacks in 2021, and they have to fix up their defense. The Volunteers giving up over 33 points per game in SEC games. Over 33 points per game in conference games, and you can't contend in the SEC, especially against the likes of Georgia and Alabama and guys like that, if you can't play a little bit of defense. But if Tennessee fixes those things, we know the offense is going to be solid. The Volunteers could be in for a very special 2022. We take a look at their schedule, guys. It's relatively favorable, and I would say there's one key stretch that I'm looking at here, and it begins on September 24th and runs through October 29th. Scrap that UT Martin game. I'm going to go ahead and chalk that up as a win. We're not predicting any games here, guys, but I think we can agree that for the most part, Ball State, Akron, and UT Martin should all be victories for Tennessee. I'm looking at the conference games here. It's Florida on the 24th of September, the bye week at LSU, Alabama, and then Kentucky on October 29th. And so the Volunteers, guys, they get 3 of those 4 games at home. Kentucky, Alabama, and Florida all having to come to Neyland Stadium, which, as we all know, a very difficult place to play. Tennessee lost to Florida last year 38-14. They lost to Alabama last year 52-24. Pulled off a minor upset over Kentucky last year 45-42. And the way I look at it, guys, if Tennessee can win 3 of those 4 conference games, I think many would assume or agree that the one loss would probably come to Alabama on October 15th. Not a given, and we're not predicting that. But obviously, if you had to choose one thing that you would more likely chalk up as a loss, it would be to the Crimson Tide. But if Tennessee can win 3 of those 4 against Florida, LSU, and Kentucky, all of which I believe are very winnable, they could be in for a very, very special year. And that game against Georgia on November 5th could possibly be for the SEC East crown. Because we know Georgia's going to be the favorite in the division, but we also know that teams like Tennessee, Kentucky, maybe even South Carolina are going to be some surprise teams and some teams that will contend for that division crown as well. But it is Georgia's division until proven otherwise. But if Tennessee, gets past Ball State, even if they were to lose to Pittsburgh, that's not a conference game. So when it comes to the conference standings, if they come into that Georgia game, come into November with only 1 conference loss, that would possibly be the SEC East Championship game between the Bulldogs and the Volunteers. Remember, Tennessee was beating Georgia at halftime last year before ultimately falling 41-17 to the Bulldogs. But that was one of the better offensive performances that Georgia had allowed all year, at least at that point in time. So, guys, this schedule, again, for Tennessee isn't horrible. It's just going to be a matter of how they fare in that really 4-game conference stretch there. Florida dealing with a brand new head coach in Billy Napier. Did not have a great year last year. They have to come to Neyland Stadium, have to come to Tennessee. That benefits Josh Heupel and his squad. LSU, yes, it is in Death Valley, but Tennessee is coming off a bye week. LSU dealing with a brand new head coach as well, and Brian Kelly. Some questions there. Alabama, obviously going to be very difficult, but not necessarily a loss. Tennessee was hanging with the Crimson Tide well into the second half last year. And then Kentucky. Tennessee won that game last year on the road. The Wildcats now have to come to Knoxville. They win 3 of those 4 games, regardless of how they fare in their first 3 against Ball State, Pittsburgh, and Akron. Tennessee could be in for a very special year, could be in for a very interesting month of November, where they have 3 of their final 4 on the road. The beauty of that is Georgia is going to be the most difficult one of them all, as you would expect, the reigning national champions in Athens. The final 3 games, Tennessee won all of those in dominating fashion. They beat Missouri 62-24 last year. That was in Columbia. They beat South Carolina 45-20 last year. They beat Vanderbilt 45-21. Ironically, the second biggest game outside that Georgia game would probably be the South Carolina game on November 19th. South Carolina obviously doing a great job exceeding expectations with Shane Beamer last year. Obviously adding Spencer Rattler in as quarterback. That's going to make the Gamecocks a trendy pick in a lot of games this year and might make them a contender in the SEC East, at least again for maybe another 7-8 win season. So can't sleep on South Carolina there at the end of the year, especially with it being at Williams-Brice Stadium in Columbia. But overall, guys, if you're up for ranking the 2 toughest games, it's going to be Alabama, it's going to be Georgia, the 2 national championship participating teams last year, the national runner-up and the national champion. But outside of that, guys, Tennessee, if they can fix the offensive line, if they can fix the defense, they could easily be in store for a possible 9-win season. Yes, we are saying a possible 9-win season. That is possible and in the cards for the Volunteers. Maybe even better for some. Now, some people may say they only lose to Alabama and Georgia. Who knows? But there's a very good chance they are in the hunt for an SEC crown, an SEC East crown at least, going into the final month of the year. There's a very possible chance that could happen. And if you had told Tennessee fans that 2-3 years ago, they may have laughed at you, may have disagreed with you. But Josh Heupel is building something in Knoxville. Very successful year 1, a lot of talent coming in. He's recruiting extremely well. What we once thought was a dumpster fire when he took over last year has quickly been put out, and Tennessee appears to be on the rise. Let's just hope they can live up to these lofty expectations going in to 2022. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. We just broke down the Tennessee schedule preview for 2022. Predictions will come in the following months, but stay tuned as we go through every single one of our top 25 teams with the schedule preview, so do not miss out on that. Again, please continue to like, comment, subscribe. Help us out by doing that. It helps our channel grow, and you become a part of our Gridiron Expert team, and we would love to have you. So make sure to do all of that, and once again, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.